Hello guys, in today's lesson we are going to talk about React Native flat list. Okay, flat list. So let's visit the website and see what the hell flat is all about. Okay, so let's visit React Native official website, that is reactnative.dev. Okay, so under the API, click on API, and on our left hand side you can see a couple of core components that came with React Native, and I will walk you through the most commonly used ones, but today we will talk about FlatList. Okay, so let me give you a little bit about FlatList and how it's all about. FlatList is used to display lists of data. Okay, so I can say FlatList is same as map in web development, but in mobile development, when you want to display lists of data, it's highly recommended to use FlatList. And the question is, why not map? Sure, you can use map to display lists of data, but for performance sake, map display all lists of data at a go, but for FlatList it displays at a certain point in time, so it's very handy and increase performance. So mine's talking. So now let's go to our terminal and then start creating our first React Native project. Okay, so I'll make it expo init. The name of my project will be FlatList. Okay, so it depends on you, whatever you want to use. FlatList tutorials. Okay, that is it. So then choose blank and hit enter, and it's bootstrapping all the dependencies for us. Okay, now it's finished. So now let's navigate into our folder called FlatList tutorials, and then let me open with my Visual Studio Code. Okay, and you can see, voila. So next, let's start our simulator. So I want to start with both Android and my iOS. So I will use yarn start to start both the Android and the iOS on my machine. Okay, so when you finish, you can use this command, say run Android device, but before you can run Android device, make sure that you have opened it before, and then okay, and then let's select AVD manager, and I will choose the first one. So okay, it's opening here. I haven't started yet, so I will come back to my browser. Where do I have my here? I will click on run on Android, and you can see that it's opening on Android on the console. Simulator is ready. Okay, so let's see. Wow, it's opening. So at the same time, let me open with my iOS as well, and it's also opening here. Okay, so while you are waiting for it to open, let's go into our code and see how we can start with it. Okay, so here is the folder structure. So you can see that always I want to trash my app.js, which is the entry file of my app. Okay, so I will delete everything from here because I want it to be comfortable with the code. And so first is you have to import React from React. You import React from React because React Native is React. Okay, and then next is let's import, as I told you, the most commonly used ones. View will be a wrapper from React Native. Okay, like so. And I will also need some text, so I'll use text. And what do I need? My friend, FlatList. Okay, so next I'll create my functional components. I'll make it const app, and it will return JSX with my view, and inside I can display text here. Okay, so I will say FlatList tutorial. Okay, so now let's see, back to our simulator and see whether it has. So now let's refresh on iOS. Sorry, I have export. I always forget. Export default our app. Okay, save it and let's see. Okay, you can see that it's at the top here because there's no style attached to it. So by default, I always say React Native doesn't come by default styling, so we have to apply the style by ourselves. Okay, so now let me import my style sheet from here, and I'll create my style sheet as style sheet. So const styles is equal to style sheet dot create, and this asset object, and I will say the whole container will be, and I'll make it a background color of say pink. Okay, so now let me bring my simulator here, and I want to apply to the whole div, the whole view. So I will say my style will be equal to styles dot container. Okay, now let's save it. You can see just apply to the view of my components, and it takes small portion of it. So for it to be able to take the whole available space, use what is called flex bus, because that's what React Native styling is all about. Okay, so I will say flex should be 1, and it will take the whole available space. Okay, so next is I want to apply some style to the text, so I will say txt for short, my text, this object. So I will say font size is, let's say, 30. Okay, and I can apply it to here as my styles dot, sorry, style is equal to styles dot text. I have it here, and I want to push this one a little bit down. Okay, down a little bit. Okay, so I can say that margin top, margin top, let's make it 50. Okay, it's cool. Okay, we are not about talking about the styling, it's about FlatList. Okay, so now let's see how we are going to use the FlatList. FlatList is a component. When you import it here, first FlatList need a data. Okay, data to display should be an array of what data that we are going to display. So assuming we have this data that we are going to display, Okay, now let's tackle flat list. That's the main concept for the tutorials. Okay, you know, a flat list needs a data to display. Okay, so in our case, let's create a dummy data here and say const data is array of objects, and the first one I'll give it an ID of, let's say, any dummy string, and let's say the content is, let's say, good to know, for example, and let's have 3 more data, and I can make this a random string, whatever, and good to know 2, and this one also a dummy string, and good to know 3. Okay, so this is the data we are going to display using flat list. Okay, so the first step is that we need to import flat list from React Native, as we have done here. So inside our view here, I can, under our text component, I can render flat list. Okay, here flat list take couple of props. Okay, first it needs what is called data, that's the data to render, and the next one is render item. Render item is a function, okay, that will run for every or for each of the data in our array. Okay, and the next one is called key extractor. Okay, key extractor, and the purpose for key extractor is for performance sake, because for example, if you render, let's say, 100 list of data, and for example you want to update or delete one, if you have key extractor, React Native will quickly identify a particular data you want to update, okay, so that it will enhance performance. So now let's see. So we're going to pass in our data inside our flat list. Let me make it big so I can pass my prop. The first prop is called data, and it will take our data here. Okay, so I will say data here. Good. And then next one is our render item. Okay, render item is a function, okay, that will run for each of every element in our list. Okay, so it will return what? It will return, so what's saying, let's return view, and it will display it in a view, or we can return list. So let's return common text here for the meantime and say dummy text. Okay, dummy text. So for this alone, you can see it has been rendered dummy text, dummy text here 3 times. Okay, because we have, how many data do we have in our array of lists? They are what? 3, that is 1 2 3. So let's see, this render item takes in a callback, sorry, this render function is a callback function that we can access all the values inside it. So whenever we so now the way a render item works is that it runs for each of the data in our list. So we have 3 elements here, 1 2 3, and that is why we have 3 dummy text on our screen. Okay, so for this we can access all the elements in our data inside this function. Okay, So now let's say item for the meantime, and let's console log item and see what is inside. So to be able to do that, I will not do implicit return here. I will just use this way, and I will console log item, sorry, here. So when the app loads, now let's look at our console of our app. So now let's see here. Now let's refresh it. For iOS, just type in Command R, and if you are using Android, is tap in the R twice. So let me, okay. So for this, we have that. So now let's look at our console and see what it has returned out of the okay. We can see that we have bunch of data being returned from that function. Okay, you can see we have an object of index, but what we are interested with is the item. Okay, so we can destructure item from that function. Okay, so now when you make item.item here, we can see all the objects. We can have content, good to know, content, good to know. So what we need is what is called the item here. So now if you make console log item.item, okay, like so, you can see we only have the object with that data only. Now let's see. Good. You can see here we have an object with only the data being displayed here. So, but we want the actual data in a list of an array, but this is object, but our data is what in the form of array. Okay, so now to do so, let's append with data here. Okay, enter here to get our data. So before we go that, let's destructure our item here, and say item. Okay, and when you console the log, sorry, the item here dot id or content or whatever, we get the actual data. Okay, so now when you say we want put the content of, so when we console log, we see we have good to know, good to know, good to know, good to know. Okay, and if you want the id, we say item dot id, and you have what is called the id of our data. Okay, now let me talk about the key extractor. Okay, in previous version of React Native, we need to pass in the key extractor like I told you here, but the current version of React Native, we don't have to. So for us, we have to pass in the key extractor. So this is how it works for the current version of React Native. So by doing this alone, you are good to go. So now we don't want to render this dummy text here. Okay, so now let's go back to our simulator here and see. We don't want to display this text here. What we want is the data from our list. So instead of this one, to be able to display JavaScript inside JSX, we need to use curly bracket. Okay, so we need item dot content, and refresh, and we say good to know, good to know 2, good to know 3. Okay, so we can start this one a little bit. So that's how we render flat list. Okay, so when we add more data here, it will reflect. Let me make sure the ID is not same, so that's so I4 here, refresh it, and you can see good to know, good to know, good to know 4, and we can style this one. But the purpose for this tutorial is not about styling. So you end here